I like that. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah, okay. So Trevor, that's the thing. I've seen some of your stuff on social media of late. I have felt for years like you and I, like if we'd been born in the same town, we would have been friends for life. Like we're like
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
we're just like
Yeah,
circling like yours is, like I mean of course in a niche hobby like bagpiping, and in a local area, of course you circle around other people's names all the time, right? But just
right.
there are like concentric circles that like interweave here and there that across many years you just go like, that name Trevor Demes, that just kind of keeps coming up, doesn't it? you know um but and so that's one of the things, Trevor, like I might have to work real hard to not have this whole podcast just being like, dude, do you remember? do you remember when Kariann chopped off all those orc arms and yelled "Day shall come again" over and over again? That was cool, right? Yeah, that was cool.
Oh yeah, we can talk about Tolkien all day.
That's actually that's the only bit of Elvish, that Aude and Tuluva. I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing it right, but that's the only bit of Elvish I've ever like retained in memory. And it's not even on purpose. I just have read that passage of the Children of Hurin so many times that I can't. It's like burned into my brain at this point.
That's awesome.
Have you? I remember not long ago you mentioned that you had got through the Silmarillion. Are you working through the rest of it? Have you got to the Children of Hurin yet, or have you just got the
Yeah,
Silmarillion
so
version of it?
that's on my to-do list. Children of Hurin on my to-do list.
Hmm.
But I finally made it through the Silmarillion,
Yeah, yeah,
which was great, but it was challenging.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, so I got to get through Children of Hurin, even though I'm familiar with the story, obviously through the Silmarillion. But
Right.
I need to read that, the Fall of Gondolin,
Hmm.
get through that, and some of those, Beren and Luthien, those classic great tales.
Yeah,
But yeah,
dude.
it's good stuff.
I'm like, I feel like so envious, and I'm not trying at all to like present myself as like, oh, I'm so well read. I've gone through all the volumes. Not at all, man. And as you know, like Tolkien's like work is such that like you can go through it 100,000 times and there's still so much there,
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but I do feel a certain level of jealousy, like thinking to myself, like, what if I could read the Fall of Gondolin for the first time, and just think about some of these scenes, like some of the battle scenes, dude. Just like that first time, you chase that
yeah.
experience the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of
Oh,
jealous of you.
totally. And a lot of people are, more familiar with the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit, which are,
Hmm.
just some of my absolute favorites. But there are so many great, uh, I don't know, just tales, stories, lessons learned in Tolkien's first, second ages, from his other works. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
he is. I am. I feel like I've become sort of like cynical and jaded as I've gotten older in a lot of aspects of my life. But J.R.R. Tolkien is a person to whom I would still like unquestioningly just give complete loyalty. Like just anything he's
oh
written,
yeah,
I'm like, yep, I'm gonna love that. I won't even question it. I know it's gonna be great.
I hear you.
Well, so the reason I refer to you as the Legolas of bagpiping. Do you, and I won't be offended if you haven't, not at all, but do you happen to have listened to the interview I did with Kariann a while ago?
Oh, I
I'm
haven't.
not
I'll
offended.
be
It's totally
honest.
fine. No, it's
I
not a big deal.
haven't.
Not a big deal.
I need to go through.
You maybe should
I'm
listen to
just
that one.
slacking, man. I need to. Okay, I'll listen to one, Carrie Ann. To be honest, I need to go through and listen to most of them. I don't
There you
think.
go. You need to listen
Yeah,
to all of them. Right? Yeah,
I
that's
need to listen to all of them. Let's just say that. I need to
you
listen to
don't
all of them. Yeah.
need to really. It's not a
No,
homework
I
thing or
do need
anything.
to.
But
I do need
you
to.
come up briefly in the interview with Kariann, and
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to now see. I don't want to spoil it, but maybe the title, "The Legolas of Bagpiping," is something that you can retain for the rest of your life, and you can hope to see Legolas fan T-shirts at future Scottish festivals or something like that. So
All right, definitely got to go listen to that.
yeah, man. So let's see here. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you. Tell me, give me a biopic. Where'd you grow up? What was life like at home? Was there music around? Did your siblings do stuff? What's just tell me all about that. How'd you get started in like living before we even get to bagpipes? And if they come into it, that's fine. But tell me about how you came into this world.
Right. So I was born Murray, Utah. That's where I was born and raised. I was the oldest of four kids, and honestly, I was sort of the first in my family to pick up a musical instrument.
Mm-hmm. You paved the way.
And yeah, sort of paved the way. And, so how it all kind of started for me was when I was 11 years old, about this time, my family on both sides were sort of getting into genealogy and family
Mm.
history and this kind of thing. So on my mom's side, my mom, my aunts, my grandma, they were really into, uh, you know, finding out where our ancestors came from, and we found out we had, some of these Scottish lines, and
Why do
just
you think it is that? Do you think it's everywhere, or do you think it's like specifically the last few decades, like epicenter in Utah, that like the keepers of the genealogical records seem to always be the matriarchs of the family? Because
that is a good
it's
question
always the
because
moms and the aunts and the grandmas, and the it's like the dads and the uncles are always just like cool story, But like, why does it seem like that's always the
yeah,
way it is?
I know I don't know, I thought about that too because I got to say, like, some of my uncles now, they are gung ho about this, and like
Yeah.
they put in a lot of work, trying to search out things. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, like my dad, my uncles, my grandpas, they appreciated it, but it was like, my mom, my aunts, my grandma's doing all the work.
I know that in my
Um,
family, and I think in a lot of other families too, like my mom tells my dad about his ancestors, like that's the dynamic.
yeah. Well, I think, yeah, growing up, I think just, my grandma, my mom, my aunts, they had the great stories,
Mm-hmm.
about great grandpa so and so, great grandma so and so. And I don't know, just they were the ones I'm very grateful that sort of, got this, this whole thing rolling where, okay, all of a sudden you find out you have Scottish ancestry and you can't help but just have all this pride now. Like, okay, I
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
research everything about Scotland and
right.
our Scottish roots.
We're watching
Well,
Braveheart tonight, kids.
exactly. Yeah, we're watching Braveheart tonight, and
Yeah.
everybody's got to go get a kilt, and looking up the tartan and all that stuff. Well, that summer, we found out for the first time that there was a Scottish festival locally, and it was actually in Murray. It was when it used to be at Murray Park. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah,
remember those days.
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was at Murray Park, like hometown, and we thought we got to go to this. And so we went over there, and it just changed my life. I mean, just the sound of the pipes, seeing all of the mass bands, the pipers, drummers, dancers, all the clans. It just really spoke to me, and enjoyed the Scottish festival there at Murray Park. And I told my grandma, she's the one actually that took me, and
Hmm.
I said, there's something about those pipes that I've got to learn how to play them. I really, really want to learn how to play. And she
Hmm.
said, well, let's let's do it then. Like, you should really do it. Um, and so, that I looked, actually, that's, they used to have a program, and on the back of the program, there was a list of all these different teachers throughout the valley, throughout the state, Highland dancing, drumming, piping. And I just remember looking on the back of that program, and I saw Dennis McMaster.
Mm.
And so I thought, you know what? I'm calling him. And that's kind
That
of how
it
I got
sounds like
started.
like if you're looking for a teacher, what a great name for a teacher. You're like, oh, this person must know exactly what they're doing. McMaster, you kidding me? That's
Yeah,
the
it's like
perfect teacher of
McMaster.
anything
Okay.
Scottish. Yeah.
And there probably were other names on there. In fact, I'm almost certain there were, but I don't know. Dennis's name was just, he was in West Valley,
Hmm.
not too far. Like, let's do it. So, but the other thing that I should mention is that, so, like, around this same time, so like I'm in elementary, I was like fifth or sixth grade. I can't remember now. I was
Yeah.
11 in any case. Well, one of my good friends in school, Thomas Heseltine, his dad is from Scotland,
Oh.
and he played the pipes, and I had, uh, you know, just really connected with him when he would come over to show and tell at the school, and he would have his pipes and he'd have his kilt, and that
Mm.
was actually sort of like my first introduction to the pipes was probably him. And I just thought, like, that kind of combined with, okay, now I have Scottish ancestry. I've been to the Scottish festival. I got to learn how to play these pipes. So Thomas and I sort of got into piping around the same time. Started taking lessons from Dennis,
It
and
helps to have a friend in it, especially at that age.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the two of us doing it together. That was back when Dennis taught at his house in his basement, and that's just how it got started for me.
Mm. So had you had any, like, the obligatory little kid piano lessons or anything like that, or was this like totally
No,
fresh to everything?
first musical instrument I picked
Mm.
up. I didn't know anything about reading music. It was sort of my first introduction to music in general. And I got a chanter, started taking lessons with Dennis, and I mean, by the next year, I was, well, let's see, maybe the year after that, I was, it's coming out to band practices and learning the band repertoire. And before I knew it, I was in the Salt Lake Scots. Dennis
Mm.
was the pipe major of the Salt Lake Scots. And it was just, one thing after another of opportunities for me.
Which then, fast forward, are you still, or were you up until very recently pipe majoring at the Salt Lake Scots?
Yeah, so currently not the pipe major. That might be news to some people
That's
listening to this. Yeah,
Chris
it's
took
all
over,
good.
right?
Chris, right.
Yeah.
I've been in the band since 2001. And I've been playing with the band ever since, with the exception of my 2 year church mission.
Hmm.
Um, well, Jason Kilpack was the pipe major of the Salt Lake Scots after Dennis. Um, and Jason was probably pipe major for 12 or 13 years, long time. And then Jason was ready to step down, and I was, the next. I was, I guess, sort of nominated or voted in as the next pipe major,
Hmm.
and that was in end of 2018. So since the end of 2018, I've been the pipe major of the Salt Lake Scots, but just with my family dynamics and work changes, it's been really hard for me to sort of commit to pipe majoring and doing the solos and everything that I've been doing. And so I'm taking a wee break from that. Chris, I'm very grateful to him. He was willing to step up as pipe major of the Salt Lake Scots. So,
Hmm.
and he's doing awesome. He will do awesome. I'm really really excited for him.
I don't doubt it. He's a solid human and a solid bagpiper for sure.
Yeah, and
In fact, I saw
he's been prepared for that. So
it makes sense because I saw some stuff that he had done. I got to see some examples of the practices that he was running during the COVID lockdowns. He obviously is a person who knows how to disseminate information and share it
he
with people and
does.
stuff. So great,
Yeah,
great
he's
fit
got
for
great
sure.
leadership qualities. He's a great fit, and that's the great thing is I was really, I mean, like the band, like that's what I tried to explain to people. It's like I'm not taking a break from piping. It's just like I'll always be a piper. Like anybody listening to this podcast is going to know, like it's part of who we are. It's not just
Yeah, it's
like
hard to leave it
it's not
behind
just something that you
entirely,
kind of
huh?
do. It is. It's like there's times and seasons, in our lives where we are very gung ho, maybe not as much as others, but it's a part of who we are, and it's just never stop being a piper. But I can't commit to the level of piping that I've done over the last 4 years.
Right.
That
Yep.
I. So, anyways, but
No,
but
it
yeah.
totally makes
So
sense. Yeah. I've even known some friends to have like kind of resented that like they'd like to be free of it, but it keeps pulling them back in.
yeah,
You
it
just
will
you can't
find you.
quit it. Yep.
Yeah. Because I have some really good friends who haven't probably picked up their pipes in a while, but it's like I still know that deep down they're pipers. They could get their pipes out and still play, if
Yeah.
they wanted to or if they did. But we life happens and we get very busy, and
Yeah, for sure, man.
but that's the
Yeah,
thing
for
about the
sure.
band.
Makes
Like the
sense.
band, yeah, the band will continue to roll forward, and someone else steps in, and great opportunity to learn from someone else, new leadership, and it just keep it going. So
Yeah. I'm trying to remember now. I feel like it was I think it was when I was talking with good old Master Baxter over there. Was the Salt Lake Scots the first? Is that the oldest continuous pipe band in Utah, or is that somewhere
you know,
between? Is that the Utah pipe band?
yeah. Well, I Utah Pipe Band and the Salt Lake Scots both, I would say, are the two longstanding bands in the state of Utah, but I'm honestly not sure if Utah Pipe Band is older than the Salt Lake Scots. I'm not
It
100%
can
sure.
it can get confusing when like so much of like the same people start the bands. Like it's like, well,
Yeah.
did the one grow out of the other, or did the two start at the same time and then split? Stuff like that. But
Right. Well, I mean, Salt Lake Scots, I think last year was our 60th anniversary. I think the band was founded in 1962.
That was 10
Um,
years before The Dark Side of the Moon was released.
wow, look at that.
I,
You just pulled that out of,
that's
that
me.
was amazing.
Yeah, trying to look impressive. I just know that this year is the
I'm
50th
impressed.
anniversary, so that's. I was just talking
Yeah,
about that with a friend earlier this morning. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been in my
nice.
brain.
Yeah, so Salt Lake Scott's been around a long time, and they've sort of been like a second family to me. Just I've always just ever since I was 12 years old. I've been playing with the band,
Yeah.
just traveling and doing all of the competitions and
Well,
parades, gigs, concerts, everything that comes with that.
let's go back to you being 12 years old then. Your grandma was obviously enthusiastic about you learning. Like, how receptive was your family to the monetary expense, the time commitment, all the noise, all the experiences that go with
Oh
having a kid
yeah,
learn to play bagpipes? How was that handled?
they were very supportive. We got my first set of pipes, and Thomas, we got ours at the same time. My good friend Thomas Heseltine, and they were very supportive. Just practicing in the house, practice
Mm,
outside. They were, with all the travel, the travel expenses and all that. That all worked out. But in fact, one thing that was kind of cool, they wanted me. So the band, I had the opportunity to go with the band in 2003 to Scotland. We went to the
wow,
Worlds,
man.
and it was an incredible experience. I was just, I don't know, I think I guess at that time I was probably 15 years old,
Yeah.
14 or 15. But my mom and dad were like, you need to pay your way, and I'm like, okay.
Mm,
So now, let me back up. So Thomas and I are getting into piping around the same time, and then that it just kind of you know it's just kind of this continuous effect where now you get someone else into it, and then they get someone into it, right? So
totally. Yeah.
so I started to get my other good friend Tyler Abeta into piping, and he just really excelled quickly, and so we were able to play almost all this on the same level, but within a short amount of time. He was really, really good piper.
How quickly were the three of you playing like Hellbound Train and stuff like that?
Well, Tyler joined the band so quickly, it was crazy. He started taking lessons from Dennis, and he came to Scotland too.
Oh yeah.
And I had been taking lessons longer than he had. But we got Tyler into it, and then we got our friend Ben Ferner into it, and we got our friend Austin McDonough into it. And I should mention, all of us go to the same school. We're all from Murray.
That's super cool. I got to grow up down in Payson, so I had the school program, which I feel very lucky about because that way I had a bunch of peers to play bagpipes and drums
Right.
with,
Oh yeah.
friends at school and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's like I feel for the kids who learn who don't have that kind of experience, and it sounds like you guys basically had the same experience, but like what would you call it? Like organically without the academic structure.
Yeah, totally. It was
Mm,
very unique, very special opportunity for us, and it helped that we were all good friends. So we sort of had these Murray bagpipers. We were kind of playing in the band and playing at school
Also,
events and
like the
whatnot.
dreams of any band come true, right? To have kids who are so enthusiastic, like they're kids, so they're going to live a while, and they're so
Yeah,
enthusiastic that they're bringing even more pipers and drummers into the band. Like we all want to find those little pockets of people.
yeah. Well, and then it even continued after that. I mean, well, Carrie, I haven't listened to the podcast with Kariann, but I'm sure Kariann mentioned something to the effect like, kind of behind the scenes, we were, sort of inspiring or preparing. I don't know what the right word is. Kariann. Yeah, I think that's kind of where, or I think that's kind of where her first interest in piping came from. Because Kariann also went to Murray, and um, you know, anyway, it just has this amazing effect to kind of spread the love of the instrument, the music, the culture.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so we had this group of friends, all pipers, and growing up, it was a lot of fun. But Tyler and I got to go to Scotland, um, and so what Tyler and I said, okay, we got to pay for our way to Scotland. So we would go down and just open up our pipe case downtown Salt Lake. We would, just pretty much busk,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we were able to pay our way to Scotland, which was pretty awesome. Just
But
playing it.
how long were you doing that to amass that much money? Like,
Oh man.
was this like every afternoon after school? That's where you were, or was it like
No,
weekends?
like, okay, so we'd go like, I think our record was the Josh Groban concert. Like, we
Ah,
go down Josh
yeah.
Groban concert, everybody's feeling happy and great, and you see these little, these young boys out playing the pipes in the freezing cold in their kilts, and they got their case open, and I don't know, that each of us, I think, each of us made $300 within like an hour of piping.
Mm,
Like I mean, it didn't take very long, jazz games, Grizzly
right.
games, concerts and whatnot, and all of a sudden we had enough money to pay for our own way to Scotland, which made it that much even more special.
Oh, for
So,
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so Scotland was an amazing trip. They'll never forget.
Yeah, and
I'd love to go
what a
back.
cool thing to have that experience at that age too. Like, I mean, I've never been myself, and so maybe I'm looking at it from the perspective of exactly who I am, which I guess would make sense. But I feel like a lot of us intend to have that experience someday, and eventually we do, or if we do, it's usually someday. It's like it's not a ton of kids who end up going across the Atlantic to the world with a pipe band.
Yeah,
So that's pretty cool, man.
kind of a funny story. I'll never forget. Like everybody, our first practice at the park, everybody was so pumped, and you like get the pipes out, and we're striking up, and there is this horrific sound. Like somebody's drones are totally out. We're like,
Yeah.
oh great, here we go. And Dennis is going around like with the stink eye, the pipe major eye, like who is that and what's and it was me, and I had put my tenor drone read in my bass,
Oh.
and my bass and my tenor, and it was awful. And I thought, oh great, I just
if
great
you
way to start our trip in Scotland. But it was looking back now, it's pretty comical. But I'm like, what, stuff like that happens.
If you'd done it on purpose, it would have been admirable, like a great practical joke to play in your pipe major.
I should have, but
Well,
it was on
everybody take
accident. And
notes. Really fun
yeah,
things to. It's like that goes along with like the classic go around to your buddy's chanter and tape up the bottom two tone holes while they're not
oh
looking.
yeah,
It's that kind of trick. We'll go
yeah. Sounds
swap
like you
their
got
drone
the
reads around.
yeah. Sounds like you got like the ambulance
Yeah, yeah,
close by.
yeah. Well, then, so piping was pretty well continuous for you, like since you picked it up, and you've just kind of
Right?
carried on
Yeah.
through. You
Just
said you went on a church mission. Where you didn't get to go to Scotland, did you?
um, across the channel in the Netherlands is where I served
That's
my
pretty
mission.
cool too, though.
Yeah, it's like it's
Uh,
pretty close to Scotland. But it was pretty cool. So my first mission president, I had asked if I could bring my pipes, and he said, no, why don't you just leave them home? Focus on the work. And I said, okay, no problem. I have no problem with that. Well, halfway through my mission, we got a new mission president. I thought I'm just going to ask him what he thinks, and he said, absolutely.
he's like, you
Have your
kidding me?
mom, have
Why
your
don't you
mom.
have him
Yeah,
here
he's like,
already?
he's like, and that's what I love. Just like different kind of leadership qualities. But he just said, you need to email your mom and dad and tell them to send those over. And I was a little nervous, shipping them overseas, but they
Oh,
got
for
to me
sure.
just fine. And I did have opportunities to play them in the Netherlands and Belgium, as both
That's awesome.
both parts were part of our mission. But yeah, I would just go into like the town center, downtown, and we'd have a big group of missionaries, and I would just start playing my pipes. Whether they were church hymns or well-known hymns, or they were just playing some jigs or some reels or marches or whatever. It just of course it's going to draw a crowd because that's not very common. And he had this huge crowd of people wanting to know what's going on, and all of a sudden you can start talking to them. So
Right,
that was
right.
pretty cool. I got to use them a couple different things,
Did you ever
or
have
for a
fun
couple
with like?
different things on my mission, but.
Did you ever do like like here's a missionary, in the town square in Belgium playing like Devil in the Kitchen or something? Like, did you ever have fun with like some like evil tunes while you were out there?
Um, I probably did. I played, yeah, like all like the great fun jigs and reels.
A lot of them
You know,
have kind of
have
racy
like yeah, like Devil in the
titles and
Kitchen, and
backgrounds. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure I did. In fact, one time it was. I don't picture myself doing this now with like the pandemic and everything, but we were in Amsterdam,
Mm.
and we were at the Dom, kind of like the downtown area. And there was this guy totally decked out in his kilt playing pipes, and he was awful. But I thought, man, that guy is playing his pipes, and everybody thinks it's so cool. I should just walk up to him and say, "Do you mind if I try? Like, I've always wanted to try."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." So, anyways, I struck up his pipes and I just started playing, and of course, like I don't know. I guess I wasn't trying to show off, but I just kind of wanted to,
But you
make it
didn't.
seem like, what the heck? Like, how did he know how to like play this thing, and it was really cool. He was a cool guy. Got to talk to him, and everybody sort of gathered
Then
around,
you,
and
you could have stepped back and been like, "It's the gift of tongues, but musical tongues."
yeah, I know. I could have taken better advantage of that situation, I guess, but it without, stuff like that just come up.
Dude, have you
And
heard? Have you heard? I think it was Stuart Little who had a similar story. Have you heard his story like that?
No,
I'm almost
I
positive it was Stuart
haven't.
Little, and he was like out riding bikes with a friend or something like that, and in a similar way came across a piper all decked out but not playing super great, and walked up to him and was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to try. Do you mind if I try him out?" And he played something, some blistering little solo, like played really great.
Thunderstruck.
Yeah, or maybe it was before he started playing. In any case, at some point before those pipes got back to the piper, he reached down to adjust the chanter, grabbed it by the sole, twisted it, busted it,
Oh
broke the
no.
guy's chanter, and then I think it's been a while since I heard the story, but I think he just handed him the all the broken pieces, was like sorry, and rode his bike away, and just disappeared. So at least you didn't break the guy's pipes, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Could have
That would
gone
have been
worse.
bad.
In this way,
That
you
would have been
can say
bad.
you're better than Stuart Little because you're better at not breaking strangers' bagpipes.
I think I had some divine intervention that I didn't break his
That would
chanter,
have
I
been
guess.
terrible, right?
But yeah, no, it's the pipes have just been able to, you know, provide me with a lot of great opportunities, and my wife, Caitlin, she is an amazing violinist. So she was classically trained at BYU, violin performance major, and
Oh wow.
so but she has fiddle training also. So we do a lot of things together: small pipes, violin. Um, she's teaching our kids violin right now, and I look forward to, we have 4 kids, we have 4 boys.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen
I'm
some
just,
pictures on social media of a bunch of boys, but I was
yeah,
never sure quite how many you had. so,
yep. We've
so you got
we've
four of
we've
them,
got
huh?
four little hobbits, and
Four little
we
hobbits. That's perfect.
we just love them to death, and they I'm looking forward to, when I can, get the chanter has always been in their hands, but when I can actually, teach them.
yeah,
My oldest Jack is 9. I was actually thinking about, maybe next year when he turns 10, just kind of get more serious with piping.
yeah.
But I mean, all my kids have sort of had a chanter in their hands since they were born. But
Yeah, I feel like when I first started having kids, I was, of course, surely we all plan our children's futures, in every way. But if we like piping, piping probably figures into that. And I think initially I had this mentality that like once they're ready, then I'll hand them a chanter. But I kind of stumbled into it by accident over the years. That like there's nothing wrong with having a chanter around for them to just play with and just kind of feel familiar with it before there's like strict instruction.
yeah, yeah, no, it's true. Well, I should actually also mention, just in all fairness, they have at times held a drumstick in their hand.
Oh,
So my
you're open to
wife,
such things, are you?
yes,
You'd allow
my
it.
wife, my wife is just, she's so amazing, and she's so talented. And this was several years ago, but she's like, I didn't really have much percussion, in the music program at BYU. I'd really like to have some more training lessons, whatever experiences with percussion. And so I was like, so what do you think about like playing in the band? Like, you
Yeah.
want to play in the drum corps? Like, maybe you could play snare. And she's like, yeah. So she started taking lessons from BJ Gunn
Dang.
and just really excelled. And then like my wife was playing in the band. She was doing solos. Like, I was her piper doing, grade 4 snare,
That's
and
too
it
cool,
was
man.
just so fun. So,
Now all your
so
kids have to do one or the other. That's a
yeah, so
family
that's
thing.
like we had all my different chanters over the years, and like my wife's drumsticks and stuff. So like they're picking up, both of them. So it's like it could go either way, and as long as they're finding what they enjoy most, like, it makes me happy. But I really look forward to the time when like my whole family can sort of be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I suspect that you and I are probably experiencing similar things in that like for various reasons, I'm not piping as much as I have in the past at present, though I intend to do so more in the future. But there is this thing in my head
Yeah,
that's like, if my kids would just get into it, like I'm not going to force them, but I'll sure encourage them, because if they would get into it, then it's a family activity. Then it's family time,
Exactly.
and then I can justify going to practice every week and going to all the games and everything because I'm taking my kids with me,
Exactly. Because, there are so many, like the practices, the gigs, the contests, the
Hmm.
parades, the concert. It is a lot of time away from your family. And like, don't get me wrong, like my family, I've been doing this for so long that they've been to so many things. Like, they're not going to go to every single thing we do now. And so
Yeah.
that is time away from them. But if my whole family is there, like, it's that much more special that it's experiences that we're having together, which is really important.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of family together time, I get the impression again from your social media stuff that you're an outdoorsy dude. Do
Yes,
some hiking and stuff like that.
yeah, we love hiking, backpacking, and we actually just got back from Zion last weekend. We took the family down, and my
How
kids,
were the crowds?
they're
Was it not too crowded right now?
I mean, it was crowded, but not too bad,
Yeah.
honestly. Like the trails weren't too bad, lines for the shuttle weren't too bad, but I think it was a good thing just seeing all these people,
Mm.
wanting to get out and just get outdoors more. But yeah, my kids are, sort of got the hiking and outdoors bug young, which is important to my wife and I because we love just being in nature and the outdoors, and so we love spending time doing that kind of thing as well.
Hmm. We haven't I haven't been to Zion since I was a kid, and my wife and I feel like we're always like budgeting time. It's like, well, which park can we do? And it's like we'd like to go to Zion, but we keep being like, oh, it sounds like it's so busy. We'll just do Arches again. Which
Yeah.
I don't mean to say just Arches. I love Arches. That's
Oh,
one of
I
my
love
favorites for sure.
arches.
But
Yeah.
we've kind of been like not diving into it just because we keep hearing like it's so busy. But yeah, if it's not
Yeah.
that bad, maybe we'll give it a try.
No, not that bad at all. And there are just terrific kid-friendly trails.
Hmm.
And it's just a very, the oasis in the desert. It's an amazing place. But yeah, so that's kind of that's another thing that we like to do, sort of outside of music and piping.
Dude, you want to hear a funny like local national land intersection with Mormonism story? Uh,
Yeah.
so the park Zion, right? There's this. I mean, the word Zion. It's a thing in multiple religions. It's like this idea of like a paradisical kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, in like religious talk, you might between each other say stuff like, "I'm trying to live a Zion-like life." Of course, this gets complicated by like more recent political Zionism and things like that, right? But
Uh-huh.
in very general terms, you might say like living in a way that you love your neighbor and you're being kind to others and giving to charity and stuff like that. You might say that you're trying to live with your like heart close to Zion or something like that, in kind of like a figurative
Right.
way, right? So I have this
Yeah.
buddy who's in I can't remember now if he's in New York or New Jersey, but a work friend who when we'd met, he's like, "Oh, where you from?" And Utah. I'd never been to Utah. We were talking about the national parks and stuff like that. He texts me out of the blue one day. He's like, "Hey, Jim, do you live close to Zion?" And I wasn't really thinking, and I reply like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I do my best. Don't we all try?" He was just so
Uh,
confused. I was like, you do your best to live by. Do you live there or not? I was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. No, a few hours
yeah,
away
it's like
for
it's an
sure.
easy question. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's funny.
little peek into our microcosm of experience in the Utah Mormon bubble for anybody who is outside of it. But
Yeah.
what other have you got other like hobbies and focuses, passions that take up your time and energy? There's family, there's nature, there's bagpipes. Anything else?
Um, well, busy, work takes up a lot of my time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
pharmacist.
and yes, so I'm a pharmacist and sort of have a unique setup. So I was
Now,
fortunate
now,
enough to
now
go to
you're
the
about to
University of
describe
Utah.
to us how you're basically a drug dealer, but you're going to tell us it's like all above board and okay. That's your unique setup, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're the legit like okay drug dealer,
Yeah.
the drug doctor. I was fortunate to go to the University of Utah for my undergrad and pharmacy school. But my dad is a pharmacist, so that's kind of how I got into that. But we have our own family pharmacy.
Oh, do
My
you?
dad has owned the apothecary shop downtown Salt Lake.
And that's what it's called, the
Uh,
apothecary shop.
Yeah, the apothecary shop.
That is so classy.
Yeah, so it's sort of got this, kind of old apothecary, and it's SHOPPE. So like
Of course.
the classic spelling. But
Ye
we're a
old.
little
Yeah.
independent. Yeah, yeah. We're an independent community pharmacy, downtown Salt Lake on the what is now the Holy Cross Hospital campus. It's been the Salt Lake Regional Medical Center for a long time. But anyways, getting into pharmacy, through my dad and just kind of was the path in life that spoke to me, as far as career goes, and going to school, having kids, piping, doing all the things that it's involved. It was pretty tough, but we did it, and now I'm just at the stage where it's more demanding at work and with my kids and the ages that there are. We've got a 9, 7, 5, and 2-year-old, almost
Wow.
2.
Wow,
It's
man.
just
Yeah,
it's like yeah, like well, I'll probably get to it in a minute, but like over the last probably 3 years, I have been so uh, I put so much time into piping, let's say, like
sure. Yeah.
ridiculously amount, and it's been an incredible experience, and it really has paid off. But I can't continue that same commitment right now. Like I hope to, obviously, again in the not too distant future, but just right now I can't commit to
No, of
that
course.
level because
It,
my kids have baseball practice, they have
right.
their guitar and violin lessons, and we are trying to make time for family, and it's very difficult to fit it all in. You know how it is.
Totally, man. And I feel like it's important. It's important to have like what is this like? It needs to be like normalized. I'm not saying that like there's a big problem with this in the piping community, right? But it's just important for like all of us to say out loud and acknowledge that like that's a real thing and it's okay. Like the tragedy would be if a piper or drummer felt like if they can't do everything, then they'll just not do anything at all, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just participate how you can, where and when you can. Just play your chanter by yourself. Get the small pipes out. Show up to band practice, work it out with your band, and show up once every 2 or 3 weeks. Like there's any number of things. The one thing that, of course, we as a community would like to help each other to not do is give up entirely and stop doing this thing. As long as you love doing it, right? Like there's got to be a way to
Right.
keep doing it while other stuff is busy, and that shifts over time, and that's okay.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And
Now, I
yeah.
think I saw you. Didn't I see you in the aspiring judges row at one of the Glenwild
Yeah.
things?
Yeah. That's right. Down at the library.
Are you an officially accredited judge at this point?
I'm not. It's one of those things on my wish list or to do list.
That's the someday.
So someday, yeah,
Yeah.
when I get my kids a little bit more grown up. But yeah, that was a really cool experience. Just being able to listen to some really great piping, and also try and learn what it's like to be a judge. Just and give what feedback we can. That was really cool.
I'm
I
trying to
still remember
remember.
you out there.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say,
remember you playing Bonnie Ann out there. I'm like, dang,
dude.
he's going for it.
Look at this. I'm blushing, Trevor, right
I
now.
still
I'm
remember
blushing.
that. It's like, man, this is killer.
I had a funny walk. That might have been part of what makes it memorable. I was having such a hard time getting that kind of like that emphasis, non-emphasis kind of feel.
Trevor, you there?
Oh, did I lose you?
Sorry. Let me know if you can hear me.
There we go. I hear you now. I lost you for just a
Okay,
minute there, but
sorry.
you're fine.
My AirPod dropped. Sorry about that.
Oh, gotcha.
Dropped connection.
Nah, no problem, man. No, really, I am flattered that you would remember what tune I played because it's been a few years now, even so.
Yeah,
But
that was before COVID, wasn't it? Wasn't that
yeah, that was pre-COVID. Yeah,
that was I want to say that was like November 2019.
yeah, like right before. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a really cool thing we did.
yeah. Love to do some more of that too. But
Yeah. We have great talent here in Utah. That's all I got to say.
yeah, and very committed people too. I'm always amazed at how much Jeff Mann does. Other people too. But you just how much
Oh
time
yeah.
and effort it takes to organize these kinds of things. You got to have people
Definitely.
willing to do that stuff, and it's hard. It's a
Definitely.
lot of time and work. So, what about like other bucket list items? Like speaking of being outdoors, like you guys have some places you really want to go with or without the kids to certain mountains you want to climb or canyons you want to climb through.
Yeah, my wife and I want to start hitting some of the 14ers.
What are the
We did King.
14ers? I don't know what those are.
So like in Utah, Kings Peak,
Oh, sure,
it's
yeah.
the highest elevation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's under 14,000 feet. It's
Oh,
13,000
gotcha.
something. I'm blanking off the top of my head.
If
It's
you
just
if you
under
get up
14.
there and your wife stands on your shoulders, one of you could do it, right?
Oh, maybe. I might have to throw her a little bit
There you
higher,
go.
but you go to Colorado and they have multiple 14,000 foot peaks,
Yeah.
and it's kind of one of these things that people love doing is, okay, let's hit all the mountain peaks that are over 14,000 feet, and there's a bunch in Colorado and Washington, whatever. That's something that we'd like to do, just push ourselves a little bit, but we love to travel too. So if it's not hiking necessarily or backpacking. We love the Uintas too, like just
For
love
sure.
going in the
Yeah.
Uintas, but um, we just love traveling in general. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, New Zealand is on our list of,
You
I've
mean
always wanted to
Middle
go
Earth?
there. Middle Earth,
Yeah.
exactly. Middle Earth, I've always wanted to go there. Iceland, um, uh, those are the I don't know, those are the places I think next that we'll go.
Yeah.
Trying to work that out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but we've been fortunate to do some traveling. Central America, Southeast Asia, and Europe. I mean,
Oh, really? That's
just
awesome.
just trying to branch out a little bit more and see some more of the world. But
No, it's super cool. You ever take your pipes with you?
I'm trying to think. Um,
It puts me in the mind of the first piper. You watch that guy on social media?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Travels around with his
yeah.
pipes.
Like outside of the band, taking my pipes to the Netherlands and Belgium. Um, I don't think I've actually brought them on any other trip just because I don't want to risk anything.
It's stressful,
But
yeah.
you know, um,
Yeah, I get some of those 3D printed pipes. You don't not too worried about it if they get
yeah,
lost or
no, it's
busted
true.
up or something.
Yeah, I should though. Like maybe I should next time I do Kings Peak. Maybe I should take my pipes
Dude,
with me. Like play on top of Utah. That'd be kind of
yeah,
cool.
that's what if that's your 14ers, right? You go
Yeah,
play
that
pipes
might. You
on
know
top
what?
of
You
each of
just
them.
gave me an idea.
There we
I,
go.
I, I should make that my next bucket list. See if I can carry my pipes with me on the top of Kings Peak, the top of Utah.
Yeah,
We'll
man.
see.
That would be a lot of extra weight. The last time I
Oh
did,
yeah, it would.
like, I haven't done Nebo since I was little, and the last time I did Temp was it's been a few years now, and my hips were killing me, dude, when I got down.
Yeah,
Adding that much
temp
weight
is
of a
steep.
set of pipes, man, that could be rough.
Yeah, no, totally.
Hey, there again though, 3D printed pipes a lot lighter.
Yeah, it's true.
You hear me, Davey? You hear me out there, Davey? I'm plugging your pipes over and over again. Trevor, I know this seems like kind of maybe a little bit silly, but just further getting to know you a bit. Any TV shows or series that you're currently enjoying or that you like in particular,
Um,
or movies?
honest,
Other media, basically. I guess.
yeah. To be honest, a lot of the if we watch anything, it's like with our boys.
Yeah. Oh, I can
So
relate to
like,
that. Yeah.
I just honestly don't have time. But we did watch the Rings of Power, um, season one. Our family loves the Mandalorian, so we're watching the new Mandalorian. We love Star Wars,
hmm
but yeah, I am definitely out of the loop with all of the new like TV series and shows.
I don't want to turn this interview political or anything, but personally, I really like the Rings of Power. I thought it was great.
Well, we did too. Yeah, I
Some people get
we
upset
loved it
about
for
it,
what it. Oh,
but
the purists will you know will be they'll definitely have I don't know
well,
a lot to
here
say, but it's like we enjoyed it.
I want
We
to
liked it.
go. I want to go even further than that, though, Trevor. And I want to suggest that, like, it's quite possible that actually the purists are okay with it. It's the people who think that they're purists that get bent out of shape over
Okay,
it. That's what I want to
yeah,
say.
there you go.
I feel
Yeah,
like
that's well said.
my wife and I were just rewatching the first episode the other night while we were folding laundry, and I had not noticed on first pass that and now I can't remember who Galadriel's older brother is.
Finrod.
Finrod, yeah, and when he's giving an explanation, And actually, Trevor, do you remember? Is Finrod? Did he die with? Was it werewolves that killed him? Was that Finrod's story?
Yeah, well, he actually saved Baron's
Right, he
life
saved Baron.
from the werewolves,
Yeah, that's what I
and
was thinking.
so yeah, he gave his life to save Baron, which it's like why couldn't the ring? I wish the Rings of Power would have done more of because Finrod is an amazing elf. He's an
Pretty darn
amazing
cool.
character. I
Yeah.
wish that yeah, it's like not just like oh yeah, he was defeated by Sauron. Like no, you need to like go into like how that happened because it's epic,
Yeah.
and somebody needs to bring that to the big screen next.
Yes, totally, man, totally. There are a lot of really good stories like that would be very cinematic. But we were watching his explanation for why stones sink to Galadriel, because in that like prologue, she had made the little boat and people had
Oh
been
yeah,
throwing
yeah,
stones to
yeah.
it. And if I might be stretching a little bit, but to me, it sounded like very, very medieval in like this explanation of like, well, fire goes up because that's where fire comes from. It's trying to return to its, its origin. Stones go down because they come from the earth. And to me, it felt like somebody who was writing this show knew that Tolkien was a medievalist, and so maybe
Mm,
didn't just use Tolkien as source material, used Tolkien's source material. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like when
yeah.
Galadriel jumps in the water and she's swimming and there's a sea monster and she's swimming and swimming and swimming. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." She did, but it's like that is so Beowulf. It's so Beowulf,
Yeah,
and Tolkien loved Beowulf, and so I feel a little bit like
you're absolutely right.
the purists who are really purists probably are delighted by this stuff, and the people who are like not purists but think that they are, I think they're the ones that are getting all mad.
Yeah, true,
But
true.
Trevor, this is exactly what I was telling myself before. Like, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't go. So I apologize. Let's.
Hey, listen, I love geeking out. I love geeking out with it. I geek out on piping anytime. I'll geek out on Tolkien anytime.
Well then, let's turn the geek laser beam toward piping again. And will you tell me about your equipment? What kind of pipes are you playing right
Sure.
now? Reeds, all that kind of stuff. And what do you
Yeah,
like? What have you used in the past? Let's just talk to me about bags and sticks and stocks and all that.
sure. So right now I'm playing a set of Lee and Sons,
Oh, cool.
made by the great Andrew Lee and Jack Lee. I absolutely love them. And I've been play. I got those in March of 2020. It's actually right before COVID,
Hmm.
but they've been phenomenal. Really, really love playing them. I've got a lot of good feedback um, from judges and different people over the last few years. Before that, oh sorry, solo chanter. I've been playing the Gandhi Blackwood.
Mm.
100% recommend it. I love it. The Gandhi Blackwood for my solo chanter of the band. We've been playing the Chesney. The Chesney. I think it's like the first edition.
Do,
Like we've had them for a while. I think they're the MK1s Chesney chanters.
are they're poly?
Um, they're poly. Yeah, the poly.
How do you
And
feel like
then
how do you feel like that Gandhi top hand does at elevation up here? Did you have to carve your G out a little bit, or is it
you
pretty
know
strong?
what? It's pretty strong, and the Pbrook IG is really good on it.
Yeah.
But it was trying to find the right reed, and for me, and a lot of other pipers too around here, the if you haven't tried it, you should try the Melvin solo reed.
Oh, those are my
He,
favorites for sure. Yeah.
oh, I love him, and I'm pretty sure he uses that copper staple, like Chesney and some of the other makers
Hmm.
do. It sort of flattens out the top hand a little bit, and it sharpens the bottom hand, which is what we need here
Yeah.
in Utah, high
Yeah.
elevation. So I'm actually able to play with minimal tape on my top hand for the first time in a long
Mm.
time. Anyways, the Melvin solo reed has worked really well for me, um, in
I,
especially in my Gandhi chanter.
I've wondered about that before because like I've actually only ever owned polypenco chanters. I haven't owned a Blackwood chanter, but I borrowed like long term borrowed a Blackwood chanter from Zach years ago. Zach
Well, yeah,
Lees. And I think it was actually I was about to say Justin McCallum. I don't mean any offense to McCallum, but just like you see a lot of McCallums around, right?
oh, and
And
for a
so
good reason too.
yeah, and totally, yeah. They make solid stuff. I just mean like it was, you'd think like a pretty generic cut, and so I've wondered before, like, did we just get lucky with that chanter, or was there something about the Blackwood that like it had a really great top hand? that my plastic chanters
Yeah.
just always seem to have trouble with. So that's why I was curious. But
Well, I mean, I think the differences may be minor, but for the listener who, who can tell, they'll tell, and I think it makes all the difference, even though it's a little bit. But it's something about, just like just kind of resonates a little bit more, and it's a little bit, warmer tone to me. It's just a really nice feel. I really enjoy playing it. Nothing against nothing against the poly chanters, but
for sure.
it's a joy to play for sure. Been playing the Lee and Sons goatskin bag, which I've really
Oh yeah,
enjoyed playing. That's been a terrific bag, and honestly, it's not that much maintenance. It's held up.
that's
Well,
exactly what I
now
was going to ask you next. Like,
yeah.
for those of us who have never played goatskin, it sounds like a nightmare.
No, it's not. It's sheepskin, which I played before too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more maintenance, but the goatskin is sort of like this happy medium of, yeah, you got to season it, but it's not as much as the sheepskin, but you still have that great quality of tone. And I've really enjoyed it. I think it's a good option. But being out here in the desert, where dry, I've had no problems just seasoning my bag, and obviously more regular play helps with that.
Yeah, I
So
have. Mike Swan has been
if you're
telling
only
me
gonna
about
if
that.
you're only gonna pick your pipes up for the end or the occasional whatever, yeah, like they're not gonna hold up very well. But
Right.
if you are playing regularly, I love playing hide bags.
Yeah. Yeah. So goat
But
skin, huh?
yeah, so the
For
goat
goat.
skin, I play the Gandhi cut, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bannatyne pipe bags,
Oh,
very
for sure. Yeah.
popular. Yeah, and I played a Bannatyne for years, but Willie McCallum was sort of, cramping, in his left hand, and the left arm was giving him problems, so he, wanted them to kind of come up with this custom fit where it takes a little bit more pressure off of the left arm. It's a little bit, I don't know, more like a bottleneck, I guess, and wider in the center of the bag, and then it's a little tapered more towards the neck. It frees up the left hand, pretty much is the bottom line.
No, I
Well,
can imagine that. It's like there's not as much material there for your left hand to be like, or your left arm to be like pressed against, basically.
So sorry, my AirPods are.
I lost you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is it echoey?
It only echoes when they fall out like that.
So sorry. Let me try this again.
No problem. Or fall out, disconnect, whatever it is that's going
okay.
on. I got
Sorry
you.
about that.
No problem.
All right. So Bruce Gandy, from what I understand, kind of a similar thing. Just wanted a custom fit for him with similar issues, and it's so comfortable. I love playing it. And it's kind of I don't know if it's a newer cut, but I really like playing it. Before this current setup, my drone reeds. I'm playing the Canning high pitch, which I really, really like. Gets my tenors tuning a little bit higher, a little bit fuller sound, and then I'm just doing the Henderson harmonic bass. And I don't know, I have tried so many different reeds, over the years. But that's what I'm currently playing, and I really, really like it.
Hey friends, right about there, Trevor's AirPods died, the batteries did, so we do finish the interview out, but this seemed like a reasonable spot to stick in this little plug. Hope that's not too frustrating for you. If it is, just skip ahead about 2 minutes, you'll be right back to hearing from Trevor. But when the interview does resume, just so you know, we kind of worked it out, so like, he's talking through his iPad, and there's an echo whenever I speak, so we tried to kind of go to more of a I give a prompt, then he talks for a while kind of format. So still, luckily, he had some lovely things to say about Pbrook, some more stuff about his instrument setup, groups he likes to listen to, so plenty of good stuff still, just wasn't conducive to the conversational format anymore. So just quick little plug for the show. Thanks again for listening in. Feel free to leave it a positive review on whatever platform you're listening on. Feel free to email the show anytime you want, TheDroningOnPodcast@gmail.com. We're on social media. Links to all that kind of stuff is in the show notes. Of course, you can be a patron if you want to. You can send me money. You can send me checks. You can send me gold bullion. You can send me bagpipes. You can sign up on Patreon. That's all in the description down below as well. And don't forget to check out bagpipeswag.com, another kind of side hobby venture interest that I've got going on. Cool stuff over there. And in fact, right now, as I'm recording this, I'm about to give away a Bagpipe Swag gift card to someone from a drawing from a pool of the patrons for the show. That's I try to sweeten the pot a bit if you become a Patreon supporter, or a patron rather. Anyway, thanks again. Back to Trevor. Have a great day, great week, etc. Good friends. Thanks. Bye. Totally fine. So tell me anything else about your instrument setup, and then I will give you the next prompt for what else to say.
Sure. So that's what I'm currently playing. My very first set of pipes were a set of nails, which I still have and love.
That's a set to start with.
Yeah, so I started with nails from 1999, and I love playing those still. But and then I got a set of the SD Sterling, which Dennis McMaster and his partner Shane Barney made together. And I played those for a number of years. But currently I'm playing the Lee & Sons, and it's been a really good choice for me.
Gotcha. Now, kind of go ahead and run with this one too. I'll try to not interject, What about favorites for listening to? When it comes to piping, but also you could extend this to other trad music, etc., right? But what individuals, bands, pipe bands, etc., do you like to listen to?
Yeah, to be honest, I love listening to so many different soloists and pipe bands. I mean, I've always been a big fan since I started piping, of SFU and Field Marshal. But over the recent years, I'm a huge fan of Inverary. I love Stuart Little and his style and Inverary style. But I love Chris Armstrong and Scottish Power. I mean, there's so many great leading bands today to learn from and to listen to that are just innovative and enjoyable, to listen to. So those are a lot of the pipe bands I listen to, and I mean, I just love listening to all these greats that we're so privileged to have, Jack Lee, who I've been fortunate enough to take lessons from over the last few years, Bruce Gandy and William McCallum, Roddy McLeod. I honestly I listen to as much as I can. I really like variety, I guess I should say. Mm-hmm. I'm just always trying to find stuff on YouTube, whether it's P-Bruck or recitals or contests, whatever. I try to listen just to as much of the best piping out there as I can, and learn from all of them what I can, because they all have their little things,
For sure. Now, if imagine I'm a piper. I've never played a gig before, and I come to you for advice. What would you suggest as like a pre-performance ritual run through? What do you do to make sure you're ready to go when you've got a gig coming up?
I think it would depend on what the gig is.
Sure.
But I would say, and I don't know what level of piping this individual would be at, but I would say, if you're playing at a gig, try and warm up beforehand if you can, and get your pipes as close in tune as you can, and just go out there and just don't even think about it. Just go out there and play. The more that you play and you have those kind of experiences, the better you're going to get. And I know I've talked to people who get just panicked about my very first gig or playing, solo at this or whatever, and I just don't overthink it. You can do it. Just go out there. Make sure you're confident with your instrument. I think that's the biggest thing. If your pipes are well maintained, and you know how to tune yourself, you'll go out there and the playing will take care of itself.
Awesome. Now, Trevor, honestly, I feel a little bit like that maybe is the perfect way to fade the episode out. Like, that was a lovely sentiment to kind of land on. That said, was there anything else that you'd like to talk about or say? And we could not end on that. We could end on something else.
I don't know. I'm just grateful to be on here with you, and enjoyed talking to you. I know there's so much, in the world of piping, there's so much that we can talk about. I don't know. I don't want to try and talk too much about myself.
No, but Trevor, that's exactly what I want you to do. So
well, I want to say this because I want to say this for all those out there listening who don't appreciate or understand the beauty of Pibroch. I just
Oh,
want to say
okay.
this.
This is great, Trevor, because I'm one of them. I'm trying so hard to get into it. I've been
Don't give
reading
up.
through like Pibroch is for everybody and everything. Like I'm doing my very best. But yeah, inspire me, please.
Okay, so what happens? I never really had Pibroch, background or training or anything like that, and I took lessons from Dennis for years, but we never did Pibroch. And it's just something I was like, it's boring, and I don't really care for it. Well, we had Jack Lee out for a band workshop 2018, and we had the opportunity for all of us to have a one-on-one lesson with him. And anyways, I get into my lesson with him, and he says, okay, why don't we just start with, an MSR or a little bit of the medley that you're playing or whatever, and play. And he's like, okay. And then we go through some of the light music, and then he says, okay, now what Pibroch are you working on? And I said, none. Like I don't know any Pibroch. And he's like, what? You haven't learned Pibroch? And I said, no. And he said, okay, we're gonna learn Pibroch right now. So put the pipes down. He pulls out his laptop. We get our chanters, and he pulls out the Field of Gold, which is a pretty well-known Donald McLeod Pibroch. Absolutely beautiful. It's nice and short, and it's perfect. Like, I know why he teaches that as his first one. But anyways, when he was just teaching me about it and singing it for me and playing it, it was a life-changing experience. Like, he totally changed my perspective on what Pibroch is and what it can be. And so anyways, so we started learning Feel the Gold, and we actually started doing lessons together from that point on, just once a month on Skype, and that was life-changing as well. But I've really, really enjoyed Pibroch over the last, 4 years, and something I wasn't into at first, but the more that you just learn a little bit at a time and listen to it, especially those who play it so well, it's just incredible. It's a breath of fresh air, at least for me, from all the light music stuff that we do. And so I want to say, those who are giving up on Pibroch, you should give it another chance.